Carrigan. Tommy, how are you today?
Aside from being an old man and pulling my back in the gym and limping home and telling George I'm going to be 20 minutes late because I need to take a hot shower and lay in bed and stretch and everything. I'm 31 going on 80. But aside from that, and aside from, I don't know, the geopolitical raping of a sovereign nation and the threat of nuclear war, and aside from all that, pretty good.
Well, I got good news for you, Tommy. You only missed one nuclear exchange, so you're going to be around for most of them. Don't worry. But the big question today is, in Ukraine, why is the CEO and one of the top men at Burisma, along with Hunter Biden and all the other Bidens with the Hunter Biden BlackBerry, right? Why are they threatening nuclear war with Putin? And, of course, a guy named Vindman, because Putin is closing in on a little Navy base that was handed over by the Ukrainian Navy to a group named Kolomoisky and an Azov brigade in a little town called Berdyansk. No, nothing happened. I'll just set this up. Nothing happened until Putin got close to Berdyansk, and now Kofor Blacks and Vindman, remember Vindman from the second impeachment, is now threatening nuclear war on CNN right now. Why?
Did you ever play the computer game World in Conflict? Came out in 2007 maybe.
I played Risk when I was a kid. I was a little older than you, but go ahead.
Close enough. But it's the fall of the Soviet Union, but like the Soviets lash out. So it's like an alternative history, and like they in China invade like Seattle. We go to war with them. It's World War III. So they're invading and they're pushing across the West Coast, and they're pushing inwards. And they're pushing closer to some place in Colorado. It's not NORAD, but it's someplace else. And it's the head of SDI, the Strategic Defense Initiative. And what the most high ups know in the US government is that it's all a bluff, that, it's way too complex to actually be effective, but the Soviets don't know that. And if they get there and they take it over, and they go in and they just go through all the computers and everything, they're going to realize that it's not a credible threat. Also, if the U.S. doesn't put up a massive fight for that area, then the Soviets would also know by default that it's probably not real. Because if that was where the brain of the space net is, we would defend it at all costs. And so the U.S. realizes that they have to... Yeah. I can't hear you.
People are wondering if this is a live broadcast. There it is, 2 p.m., 2:26 p.m., February the 27th. You're saying how this is a simulation of
it's a game.
World War III, and you're saying that they have to kind of respect each other's moves.
Yeah, and so, well, the Soviets are coming in and they're going to seize the place where SDI is headquartered, and it's not real. We know it's a bluff. The Soviets don't. And the Soviets are coming in, and we're realizing if they take it over, they're going to see it's fake. We have to defend it as if it was real, like you would defend the White House or something, or NORAD. So they go in and they nuke. It's the first nuclear exchange of World War III. We do a tactical nuke right there. And the Soviets don't strike back with overwhelming nuclear force because they kind of expected that. They were going for what they perceived to be our crown jewels. We had to actually pretend like the crown jewels are real because that keeps SDI as a credible threat. It's not quite the same because it's a bluff, but it does remind me of that. It's the whole war is going on, and then there's one little area that now the Russians, but the Soviets are getting near, and we're like, hey, so there's either something there that's worth us nuking them over, or there's something not there, as per World in Conflict, that we have to pretend like is there. Either way, there's a massive bluff going on.
Well, I was a big Larry Bird fan. He was 1 year ahead of me at Indiana State.
I was 33, Celtics.
33. And he wore a tennis shoe called Converse. And I just wanted to point out that the converse of your argument is also true. The converse of the argument is if they start getting near something that's supposed to be really unimportant and they're threatening nuclear exchanges, that means that maybe that's really, really important, like you said.
Yeah.
And Berdyansk, I thought, I remember a Bert Convy. He was a game show host on something called The Match Game. Burt Yansk. Try to remember anybody that you've known named Burt. The only other Burt I know is Burt and Ernie.
Burt Reynolds.
Well, there's Burt Reynolds. True. So, but Burt Yansk.
I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that before. Before 5 minutes ago, I'd never heard of it.
Yeah, I'd never heard of Burt Yansk before. I expected there's 11 biological weapons bases that DTRA, the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, had in Ukraine. We've been talking about that for 5 years on my channel. We knew that. The one we were looking at, if there was some kind of, did we talk about Operation Sea Spray in our last? Yeah. If there was a sea spray operation, we expected it to be Ukrainian Navy port, the one biological weapons place that was on a port. There was 2 of the 11 that were on ports. One was in Odessa, the other was in Mariupol. But a lot of people said, rule out Odessa because that's got mostly Ukrainians and it's in Ukrainian territory. Mariupol was very close to the 2 kind of breakaway states, the 2 separatist states, which is Lugansk and Donetsk. So if they were going to spray, if the Ukrainian nationalists were going to spray, they're going to spray the Putin folks. They're not going to spray the Ukrainian guys. They're going to spray the Putin people. Or if they're ever going to shut down, if their job in a nuclear exchange is to shut down bottle up the Russians' navy, they would hit the key 3 NATO choke points, which are the Kerch Strait going down across the Black Sea, is then the Bosphorus, and then the Dardanelles. So this is, okay, so we've got tracking the Russian invasion. There we go. And let's see if we dial in there a little bit, zoom in a little bit. Okay, that's Kiev. So let's zoom out a little bit and get there we go. So you see Mariupol. Okay, this is good that we have the map here. If we zoom in a little bit. Mariupol, and then we see Donetsk and Lugansk. This is the Putin area, if you will. And Crimea is a Putin area. And now you see how Putin is filling in. He's kind of pincering in on Mariupol. Okay, well, and then you see Odessa to the left. That's good. If you keep that up there, move that up, that's great. A little bit more. Get a little of the Black Sea in there. Okay, so the key here is Berdyansk is another port just a little bit toward Crimea from Mariupol. So we'll get another map up there, Berdyansk. And right now, nothing happened. Putin took Mariupol, no problem. They really defended it very, very hard. And all the resistance was coming from there. If you remember Kiev, if you look at the little picture of Kiev there was big special forces landing there at the airport. They took over the airport. And they only went as far as the zoo, which was the army base in Kiev. They didn't go into the city just to cut off command and control to the airport. It was sort of like they wanted to silence any responses that the Ukrainian Air Force could make and knock down their command and control so that they could run this mop-up operation over here in the east. And these were the operations of 2 main mercenary armies that Kolomoisky had. One was called the Azov Brigade, and the other was called the Dnieper Brigade. So that's a lot of information, but the Dnieper River that you see running down there from Kiev is where the Dnieper Brigade recruits from. And the Azov Sea, or the Sea of Azov, where Mariupol is where the Azov Brigade recruits. So that's where these 2 mercenary armies come from that Kolomoisky is recruiting from. And it makes sense that this could be the center of sea spraying operations. We don't know that for sure, but if they get that information that we've been conducting a sea spray type operation since 2014, that's not going to look good for Ukraine. It's going to look like they were hiding a bioweapons testing program on human beings without their knowledge and consent, killing many of them with strange diseases. We uncovered documentation. It's called UP8, Ukraine Program 8. It works directly with Fort Detrick. We've identified the key people at Fort Detrick that are responsible for the program. We've identified the key virus, which is Congo Crimea hemorrhagic fever. We've got documentation going back and forth on this program, and we know who is the contractor, Black and Veatch. We don't know if that's Kofor Black and Veatch somebody else or not. But there's a lot of information here. We also have information that Peter Daszak's father may have been involved in this Operation Sea Spray when it was a Russian operation. Before the fall of the Soviet Union, there was a natural desire to spray some of the people at the key places, Turkey in the Dardanelles and Turkey in the Bosporus, but not kill the good guys at that time, which were Ukrainians and Russians. So it's thought that Peter Daszak's father could have slipped straight over into after the war, after the fall of the Soviet Union, like you were talking about, and became the head guy for this program. And that would explain a lot why Peter Daszak's always trying to say it came from a bat and not from my dad.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's a lot of spaghetti on one plate.
No, it's fine. And well, originally, because my friend David that originally kind of introduced me to you, he kept telling me, he was like, you need to do an Azov Battalion episode with George Webb. And originally that's what we were going to do. And I think I texted you. And then like 3 hours later, Russia invaded Ukraine. So the topic understandably changed to the much bigger picture going on. Could you go in more into, because I've been watching, as always, been watching your videos on Twitter. Could you go into more of who Kolomoisky is? You're saying he owns a lot of what word am I looking for? He owns a lot of real estate in which U.S. city?
Well, in a lot of U.S. cities, but in Cleveland, Ohio, especially, but Louisville, Kentucky, Houston, Texas, there's many other, about 20 different U.S. cities, and they're taking these war profits and then investing them directly into U.S. real estate. And this is why they don't want to shut down certain Russian banks. Yeah. Certain Russian banks is a way. Kolomoisky has investments there, and so do some of these Ukrainian oligarchs.
Do you think the oligarchs are going to make a move against Putin if their wallets start getting touched, which they are?
Well, let me back up and say this is Putin's Cuban Missile Crisis. Now we're in a nuclear threat situation. Yeah. If you remember the Cuban Missile Crisis, just to set it, you know the Cuban Missile Crisis backwards and forwards. But for those who aren't as enlightened as Tommy, the island of Cuba had gotten offensive missiles from Russia, 90 miles from Key West. President Kennedy felt like that's way too close up my nose with nuclear missiles. I don't have any leeway, any time, any warning for our civil defense. No Soviet missiles in Cuba. That's 90 miles to get to a place like Key West. That's a lot longer to get to someplace like Miami. This is a 2,000-kilometer border that Ukraine shares with Russia. This is Putin's Cuba. And it's a lot more than 90 miles away. At 90 miles away, amphibious landing, I can see you coming. We can, we have a lot of defenses. We have a natural ocean in between us. This is a land entry points that all along the way, all along a 2,000-mile border. Now you start rolling up these offensive missile platforms that you can put biological weapons on, and it starts not being a fun game anymore. This is a 2,000-kilometer Cuba. Now, what I saw in Putin's eye on the Monday speech was that same steely determination that John F. Kennedy had when he said any attack coming from the island of Cuba will be perceived as an attack by the Soviet Union upon the United States. Any missile from Cuba on the soil of the United States will be perceived as a full attack from the Soviet Union upon the United States, requiring a full retaliatory response. And that really shocked a lot of people. People started buying canned goods. Yeah. After he said full retaliatory response. Yeah. So this is Putin's Cuba. Yeah. So to get to your oligarch question, I don't think Putin cares. Yeah. If you've been spraying my people for 8 years now, maybe 9, I don't know if it's the Dazak Dad program or where it came from. I think I know where it came from, which is Alpha Group. It's called Alpha Group in Kiev. It was the old Spetsnaz intelligence unit in Kiev, and I believe that zoo where Putin took over was Alpha Group headquarters. But if you really feel like you have the evidence of that, you need to go get the evidence. You have to do it in a surprise attack so that they can't destroy the evidence. And nothing's going to stop you, because if you don't get the evidence for the world court, you're going to wake up with Cuba on. If Kennedy wouldn't have said no missiles in Cuba, you would have woken up every morning with missiles in Cuba.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also, I have on every week Claire Lopez, CIA veteran, who's a fan of yours, and she was saying last week or on Thursday, she said, Putin said that the fall of the Soviet Union was the worst day of his life, and here's a guy, KGB agent, who loves his country as much as I love my own, right? Let's try to at least look at it through that way. And he sees that he's got a closing window of time in his life, right? He's making, and this is just her take on it, he's going to make moves while he can, and that's the thing is, I don't think he gives a shit. Excuse my French, but like Soviets, United States in 1962, it was still pretty much like no one knew who was going to come out, right? Because it went on for another, 26 years, 28, 29 years? This is very different. It's the powerhouse United States. It's the Soviet Union with a smaller economy than Texas. And really, it's us and China. So it's sort of like, you do want to play you don't want to fire from the hip in 1962 as the Soviet Union, because you might still win the big one, the Cold War. You might still ride out on top. There's a chance you're going to win. Right now, it's not at all. The only thing he's losing is time. I think he's shown he's ruthless, no more or less ruthless than any of our leaders, let's be honest. The media just does a good job at making him evil bad man, but, we can go kill, and nobody cares. It's the United States. That's, to me, what it is I think this is a guy that really does not care. I don't think he cares. And he's going to go in just, balls of steel. And what happens, happens. I don't think this is a guy that cares.
Well, I think there's a lot of evidence to support that, because somebody in the chat did mention that he did bring in the Chechen Brigade, the North Brigade, which is a bloodthirsty, they'll do anything type brigade to clean house on these Ukrainian nationalists. Some people call them Ukrainian Nazis. But I do believe that if the Ukrainian Nazis, well, first of all, where does Kolomoisky come from? Kolomoisky comes from a long line of Jews in Ukraine that made sort of this unholy matrimony with these neo-Nazi groups called like the Galicia Brigade. Peter Daszak's father was a part of the Galicia Brigade. They went to Poland and set up death camps. They went to all these different countries and set up death camps. Zyklon B and research into all these IG Farben death substances was their thing. And there was a distillate out of using chemicals and biologicals to kill humans that had both a Nazi distillation and also a Jewish distillation, because Jews actually ran the death camps on a daily basis. Yeah. And however it all came to pass, whether it's Chabad Lubavitch on one side and the neo-Nazi movement on the other side, but it kind of came together in this Alpha group. And the Alpha group was this Intelligence Unit 1, the GRU Intelligence Unit 1, Spetsnaz Special Forces. It was they had the Ukrainian Navy there. Remember, this is the only place that they have a warm water port. And Sevastopol at the end of the Crimean Peninsula is their big, that's their big southern presence. Mm-hmm. Odessa is sort of I would say, the ancestral southern port identified by all Russians. Everybody remembers, that was the place all the Russians used to go vacation. And they remember, Battleship Potemkin and having their first, revolution there before the big, October Revolution. So the Russian Navy was the one that led that charge. And so there's a lot of Russian feeling still for those things that are now considered Ukraine, especially Crimea. So this is the only place really that you could test any kind of, if you're going to go to Africa and test various bioweapons, it goes through this group. It goes through Ukraine because it's on the way to Africa. We talked about Crimea, Congo hemorrhagic fever. This is a strange place for this thing to show up in both places. And we're looking at this breaking out here right after we said it would. And we have go-betweens from this area and this group, Kolomoisky specifically, his two runners, Fruman and Parnas, are running back and forth to China at the time of the 2019 breakout. We have Felix Sater, another one of his runners, going back and forth to Kazakhstan, the old biopreparat labs, BSL-4 labs, when that place shuts down for a few days because of protests, quote unquote. So there's a lot of fingerlings out there and IP addresses that track back to Kolomoisky. And Kolomoisky, if you go back to the Ukrainian map, is just down the river toward this thing in a town called Dnipro. It's about halfway down the river. And that's his kind of power projection. And what's happened is Ukrainian nationals, since they've taken over the country in Kiev, now they do whatever they want. It's sort of like Peter Daszak's dad moved back in time 50 years. And now he gets to do all the same death camp stuff that he did in Poland and Ukraine. Now he gets to do it all over again in Donetsk and Lugansk. And that's what Putin really is, I think, reacting to here. Again, I said this in my piece, 2-minute pieces. He's got to produce the evidence for the World Court.
Yeah.
He can't just say, this is why I went in.
Yeah. You've got to... Yeah, right. It's like a no-knock warrant or something. But you gotta find the evidence, because otherwise you're just the big bad guy breaking down a door. Right?
That's right.
And he could. If you went in and found evidence of related to even COVID or something. I was thinking about that. What's that? The famous Clausewitz quote: "War is a continuation of politics by other means." Everyone's kind of talking about COVID ended and then in comes the war. Like, got to keep the fear going. And I was just thinking before this podcast, I was like, is this just not the continuation of COVID by other means? It's the narrative's falling apart. No one's taking the vax. Nobody's doing the mandates. It seems like now it's coming. In all of my genius, right, sitting in a chair in Maryland, but I can't help but think that these are related, that they're absolutely related.
Well, if you want to go back to Alpha Group, and again, I had said that, for instance, the Maidan shootings, for instance, the snipers were Spetsnaz. And I had forgotten, I've lived on this earth too long, I forgot when I said that they had broken away from the Soviet Union and that had become Alpha Group in Kiev. And they used to be Spetsnaz snipers, but now they're Ukrainian nationalists, Alpha Group snipers. But they're the ones that shot people on both sides in Ukraine 2014 in the Maidan, in that square that we're seeing these pictures of. They're the ones that then go on with Dmitry Alperovich, okay, and his father also was in the Russian intelligence, and they're the ones who do the hack into the DNC. They're the ones who put 68 journalists into our Library of Congress when Trump is running with Andrea Chalupa and all those folks. They were Russians. They were Russians until the fall. Now they're Ukrainians. But every once in a while, if we want to make Russia bad, big bad bear, if we want to do the big bad bear thing, we have them go get their old Russian uniforms on.
Yeah. Dmitry
Alperovich was to keep up the scare, and his father, Mikhail, was to keep up the scare of the big bad bear. So they named all their hacking units after bears. There was the cozy bears, there was the fancy bears, there was the pinchuck bears. There was all these bears because they wanted to keep the bear scare going. And then for hacking, but we had the same thing going on with the bioweapons. All these dark weapons were run out of this small group. That's why I think Putin had to get control of that zoo. Literally, it's built underneath the Kiev zoo. And that's why he stopped. The reason why the soldiers left their phones on is to show that they weren't going into the presidential palace. They weren't trying to take over any of the buildings. The reason why when you watch, they wanted to show you that the unit there, what was there at the zoo. That's my point.
You know what to me is the biggest red flag? And to me, the biggest red flag is just seeing George Soros tweeting in defense of Ukraine. Now, full disclosure, what's going on is terrible. There's men, women, and children being killed. I know a lot of people are trying to group anyone who's remotely conservative into some pro-Putin camp. I'm not at all. I'm in a pro-Tommy camp. I'm trying to grow my podcast. That's my camp. It's me and George Webb. I'm not. Fuck off. Excuse me. But when I see Soros tweeting, my gut is like the opposite of that is good. No matter what, and that could just be me being played, right? Like Orange Man bad. If Trump said I love oxygen, you'd have a bunch of like liberal harpies saying I don't want to breathe anymore. So I get that, but I don't know, man. When Soros comes out and is like, when all the media is seemingly in like lockstep, and man, I hope someone's going to clip this years from now. It's all going to come back to bite me. A lot of it kind of looks like propaganda. They have these beautiful women holding like machine guns, and I don't know, man. I kind of feel like I'm watching a Marvel movie. And maybe my mind has just been so boiled by COVID over the last 2 years that I am incapable of seeing anything without a conspiratorial light, and that could very well be the case, in which case just disregard everything I'm saying. But, COVID pulled the mask completely off of Mockingbird media. Like, I don't trust anything they say. And I can't help, how come all of a sudden I'm supposed to trust that media with anything, be it Ukraine or be it anything? When I've seen them lie so blatantly, when I've seen them sit there and point at the color red and say that's blue, or say that 2 + 2 is 5, again and again and again and again, and silence those that say otherwise over the last 2 years, that has destroyed all credibility, not just for COVID, but for anything. So when they're all beating the drums saying we stand with Ukraine, I don't know, man. The little spidey senses on my neck. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know. I'm not trying to posit that I know what is going on. But I tweeted this yesterday. I think it's like the first ever time I've tweeted that something that wasn't just a link to this podcast. But it feels an awful lot like September 12th, 2001. It feels like we're being drummed up into a fervor for something. I don't know what that something is, but it feels like this is foreplay for it. And it feels like this is the thing we look back on in 20 years. And when people say, how come we were in Iraq for so long? We always say, what does everyone always say? You had to be alive right after 9/11. A wave of patriotism swept the nation. We had to do something, right? That's the answer. I don't know what we're going to be looking back on in 20 years. But right now, feels like this. It feels like we're being swept up into a fervor. I don't know for what, but it feels like we're being swept up into a fervor for some. Maybe it's just the good old boys at the military-industrial complex. I don't know, but something feels too. It feels too lockstep. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, no. I think that's a very good. September 12th is a good analogy there.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah. Well, when Alpha Bank hack happened, and why 6 years later would they be going over Alpha Bank? The hack, supposedly by Trump, and the connection to Trump Russians when they were actually connections to Ukrainians. when it first happened, Tommy, we had said, Paul Whelan has been running Spetsnaz Alpha Group snipers into the United States, shooting people. We had a group of Russian general Shamanov with a company called Blackstone Express, trucking them all around. We immediately said, Alpha Bank, is that the bank for Alpha Group? Would they be so stupid to take a former Spetsnaz unit that was in Kiev and then just, and now it's Alpha Group, right? Would they be that dumb to then use a hacking tool from that group? And I immediately said I immediately said the name of the hacking tool, which was, it's not arbitrage, but I'll think of it in a second. But we immediately named the hacking tool. We said that Dmitry Alperovich's unit, that was his dad's unit in Kiev. What's the hard part of this? It's not arbitrage, but it's, but anyway, it makes you think you're in a different place. It makes you think of the hacking locations in a different place. It spoofs the hacking location.
Yeah.
Umbrage is the hacking tool. I mean, immediately, 6 years ago, right? We said, this is, Kiev, we didn't exactly know which cage it was between which zoo animal, at the Kiev Zoo, but we're pretty close to the Russian bear cage, at the zoo. So what I'm saying is we're seeing real IP addresses, not conspiracy theory, right? And we're seeing real tools that are from that location that actually goes back to the Russian bear cage at the Kiev Zoo. I'm using zoos to say these criminals. So what we have to do here is not go attack. 9/11 was all about saying Osama bin Laden, our 20-year partner in covert warfare.
Our freedom fighter per Ronald Reagan.
September 11th was all about taking our 20-year partner, Kofor Black again. Remember, Berdyansk, that's his little port with Burisma, right? Our 20-year partner on September 11th became, on September 12th, our arch enemy. Oh. And because he was our arch enemy, that meant we had to go take a rock, which was how many thousands of miles away? Remember that?
Yeah,
bait and switch?
In terms of me just not trusting anything, I'm going to text it to you right now. Can you pull up this tweet? It's like a 40-second video. You're muted.
You're not able to play it.
No, can you pull it up on so you can share it? I'm technologically challenged.
Okay. Oh, you're going to pull it up for our guys. Okay, great.
No, I texted it to you. Can you just have them?
Is it this one right here?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me send that to our control booth.
Sorry, I have the technological capability of a 90-year-old.
Yeah. We'll send it to our control booth, and then.
But it's in general like how I feel about, when Soros is saying this is terrible, when Dan Crenshaw, that World Economic Forum slithering demon, is saying like he's parroting the lines, and he's like, we must stand for Ukraine. When China's not backing Russia, I'm just getting the spidey senses going off, and I'm like, none of this is what it seems. Maybe my brain has just been cooked by conspiracies in the last 2 years, and this really is just a land grab. I don't know.
I ever didn't think Alpha wasn't a part of, I'll just say Alpha instead of Alpha Group. I never did think that Alpha was far away from what the live simulation that happened in Wuhan, military games. Yeah. Because what that required was a chimera to be produced, which means something that's never existed before.
Yeah.
So what I needed to do was take something that somebody could easily diagnose and that wasn't that pathogenic and fairly mild, okay, like the coronavirus was. And I needed to attach something to it that made it deadly. And I needed to be able to mix and match this wherever I wanted to around the world, right? Wherever, any pocket of resistance, I would have to bring out the deadly version. We said this when this first came out. There was a safe version, an S version, and a lethal version, an L version. Okay, so what I see Twitter. I texted it to you guys. Yeah. Okay, here we go.
It's not particular to this right now, but to me, this is the general flavor of like how I feel about everything. I can't hear it.
Oh, you got to release the sound on the video as well. Mark it for sound.
Does look like it's on.
Yeah, you have to share the sound. In StreamYard is odd. You have to share the video, but then you also have to share the sound of the video.
I feel like I'm throwing wrenches into y'all's.
No, it's okay. It's something that we have to learn as we get our chops here. But while we work on that, let me just mention that. There you go. I see you going over for the share sound button there. It's going to work when you hit that share sound. Here we go. It's bad when you can tell what other people are thinking by their movements of their cursors. There's got to be a word for that.
Still can't hear anything.
No, we're not there yet.
It's not terribly important. It's just a meme.
We'll come back to it. At least they say who it's from. But my point is that in order to do a false flag, remember the very first attack in the Soviet Union's history, right? Or excuse me, in the Nazis when they take over Poland. Here we go.
Straight. How would it be if the United States were viewed by the rest of the world as interfering with the elections directly of other countries? And everybody knew it.
We've been going hard for too long. Can't get enough with the shoe on. Yeah, really ain't nothing like a drop that. Wake up in the morning, make it all back. It's nothing to get it poppin', wanna roll up and away. Here we go. Now Martin had a dream. I've been dreaming about gold. Tell him I just wanna shine and I gotta leave. Wanna see me walk right through the door. Gotta make it on repeat. It's my double up. Vibrate the whole building name ringing through your phone. Waiting till the smoke clear. You see me through the fog. Fall back, it could go all bad. We be going hard with your XO tic-tac. Tacky motherfuckers must not be hip. Yeah, life is a bitch, but I bet I get that bitch wet. We've been going hard for too long. Can't get enough of the shoe.
So I know that maybe isn't the most professional video, but to me, it's that general vibe of just a quick 60 seconds of like, we have had our fingers in every pie for 73 years. And there's just this, I don't know. I feel like I can't trust anything. So when the prevailing image is that Russia is invading Ukraine, even though in my gut I go, that is bad, any sort of trust or authenticity that the mainstream media ever had, at least in my own mind, or even the idea that like we're the good guys, I know what's going to happen. I'm 31 right now. I'm going to be 95 and reading about new declassified documents, and it's going to be the equivalent of like, it's going to be the equivalent of like Operation Northwoods or Sea Spray or something, or Operation Cyclone.
I got good news for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to fast forward the time clock about 65 years for you right now.
Okay, hold on. Let me go to the bathroom first. But this is my feeling is I'm going to be 95 and I'm going to be read the new declassified documents.
It's going to happen when you get back from bathroom.
It's going to say what really happened in 2022, and I'm going to be going, I knew it. All right.
In 2 notes. You're going to get it in 2 notes.
Okay.
2 notes.
My back hurts so bad. I'm limping away.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So if you're just joining us, I'm here doing a Sunday afternoon broadcast on February the 27th. I'm here with the great Tommy Carrigan, who's had many, many interviews with some of the biggest names right now in the coronavirus disputes. We've got Dr. Robert Malone he's had on numerous times, as well as many other people that have been, every person, all 10 people that testified in front of Senator Ron Johnson recently. You can find all those podcasts at TPC, the Tommy Carrigan podcast. I think it's TPC is his initials. And I think it's Tommy Podcast. You can find him on Rumble and BitChute and other places. Let's go ahead and get the URL for Tommy's podcast. If you search for Tommy's podcast, you're going to get it. And these are some of the great people we've got. We've got Peter McCullough, all the folks. I don't know if he has David Martin yet, but he's got the great George Webb. Oh, wait, he's got a couple of those. He's got a lot of great podcasts that you can check out. Let's check out any one of those, and we'll quiz Tommy on one of those when he comes back as we go down the list there. Yeah. So that's a great Tommy Carrigan. And we're talking today about something a little different. We're talking about why Putin may be in Ukraine and why the West, and Covert Black specifically, and the boys at Burisma may be threatening nuclear war today because Putin may have found Pandora's box. So anyway, Tommy, I was just giving everybody kind of a public service announcement of who you are and what you've been doing, and a little bit of a promo on your podcast.
Thank you, sir.
And anyway, I promised you.
You promised me the answer, so you got to lay it down now. You just dude, that's a big.
I'm going to save you
promise.
I'm going to save you 60 years. That thing that you played, Tyrone. I ask you play that one more time?
I've watched that video like 100 times in the last 24 hours.
Because I will put together all the people involved with every one of those incidents with only two names. You probably already know who those two names are. One of them is Covert Black, and then the other name is a person he studied under at the Cuban Missile Crisis. We'll take it from here.
Kissinger, Dulles.
No.
Wild Bill Donovan.
You're getting close. Yep. It's one of the Cuba 7.
All right. Yeah.
But go ahead. Let's play it one more time.
Let's get this straight. How would it be if the United States were viewed by the rest of the world as interfering with the elections directly of other countries? And everybody knew it.
We've been going hard for too long. Can't get enough with the shoe on. Yeah, really ain't nothing I can drop that. Wake up in the morning, make it all back. It's nothing to get it poppin', wanna roll up and away, here we go. Now Martin had a dream, I've been dreaming about gold. Tell him I just wanna shine and I gotta let it shine. Wanna see you walk right through the door, got a nigga on repeat. My number love, vibrate the whole building, name ringing through your phone. Waiting till the smoke clear, then you see me through the fog. Fall back, it could go all bad. We be going home with your XO tic-tac. Tacky motherfuckers must not be hip. Yeah, life is a bitch, but I bet I get that bitch wet. We been going home for too long. Can't get enough of the shoe.
So I was going to say, I saw a couple of votes here for Frank Wisner.
Ooh.
And Frank Wisner is very close. I was going to say Ted Shackelford, who Covert Black was an understudy of. Just with two people, though, Tommy, just with two names, you can get everybody from the Kennedy all the way.
James Jesus Angleton.
Well, Angleton's another one.
He's counterintelligence.
Yeah, but Angleton probably had his hand in a lot of these intelligence activities. Alan Dulles, and I met two guys that worked together. And one was an
Richard Bissell.
Bissell would be another one. Cabell, another one. Well, what I'm saying is basically you take that Cuba 7 of the CIA guys for the Cuba 7 and the Watergate break-ins, and you just add some understudies. It takes you all the way to right till now with Burisma and Covert Black. Covert Black wouldn't be on CNN in a disheveled hair being raced in while Vindman's holding the stage until he can get there by emergency limo and threaten nuclear war if this wasn't the answer to the test.
Do you think this is the big? Do you think this is the the pin that's holding all the strings together?
Yeah, I do. Bird. Well, and the reason I say that is Bird Yansk it has almost no value. I mean, it's a very small, poor port. And all you need is a couple of trawlers, and all you need is a couple of people to wait till early morning as they're going under the Kersh Bridge and spray into a fog, and then let the fog go over into, blow into Kursk, from the Kursk Strait into Lugansk and into Donetsk. But the problem is it accumulates on the buildings, the soil samples and so forth, and experts can collect the samples, and they can collect the blood samples of the people there. And it's pure proof positive. I mean, no way you can fake the evidence with these blood samples. So that's the problem. That's the problem with doing these weapons, is they're smoking guns that can be traced right to the Gopher Blacks of the world.
Do you think this is why China is openly condoning Russia's moves? Do you think would this imply that China actually had nothing to do with COVID, or are they all in bed together and China knows that Berdyansk is the pin?
Yeah, I think China knows that there is a joint program in coronaviruses that they were testing on the Uyghurs over the last 10 years. And basically the CIA was trying to embarrass them about that program. But the thing that caused the people to drop out of the games and so forth could have been something else, is what I'm saying. It could have been a totally different program that came from the Russian program that then went to the Ukrainian program at the Alpha Group. I said it was hemorrhagic fevers because I looked and did an analysis of all the people, and so did all of our researchers. Hemorrhagic fever, hemorrhagic fever, hemorrhagic fever, hemorrhagic fever. I mean, you just couldn't get away from it. Lassa fever, Nipah fever, Congo, Crimea, hemorrhagic fever, Ebola, Marburg. Everyone, I was looking one day, can I just find an influenza guy? Just please, let me get out of this. Everyone was hemorrhagic fevers. And when we recently saw Felix Sater come out of that bioprepper lab, you've interviewed Ken Alabek many times. When I saw Sater come out of there and the fake protests so that they could shut it down for a day so he could get out the stuff, I said, this is going to be blaming the Russians again in Ukraine. And I think Putin knew that, hey, this is coming. Some big attack of shutting down one of those key NATO choke points was coming. And to prove that, before Putin ever did anything, Ukraine asked Turkey to shut down both the Dardanelles and the Bosphorus. That's an act of war. That's Russia's those are two choke points. It's the only way out into the Mediterranean for Russia, for the oil tankers, for the gas, and their navy. That was an act of war. The only reason they would have done that, right, is because they're hiding what actually happened in Wuhan. When this thing is all said and done, like you said, 50 years from now, when you get the declassified documents, you're going to find there was a chimera involved in Wuhan. We don't know what it is yet. But I think the Chinese do. Because they took the soil samples.
I had a buddy in college, and I remember he was telling, we were like 20. He was telling me about when he was on like probation when he was 17 for like, I don't know, like drinking or something, right? Just some juvenile probation. And he was like, yeah, I was like still doing drugs. And he goes, I remember one time my dad knocked on the door. It was me and my friend were staying up all night, like doing cocaine. My dad knocked on the door and goes, what are you boys doing in there? And he goes, smoking weed. And I was like, why would, because I just think about like my conservative Catholic parents, like they'd beat the shit out of me. He was like, I was so scared of him finding the coke that, full disclosure, I've never done coke. This is his story. He goes, that we admitted to weed instead. Because if we said nothing, he wouldn't have believed us. But if we said weed, we would have gotten our asses kicked. That's kind of what this feels like too, though. What's that Berdyansk? Like, nothing. There might be nuclear war, though. And it's like, so what are you offering up? Why are you floating the casual idea of thermonuclear war? Where's the coke? That's kind of my logic. Where's the coke? What is the coke? Vladimir's dad, and he's knocking on the door. He's rolling in with his armored divisions. And we're going, what's in there? Oh, nothing. But we're going to defend the people of Ukraine. Might as well start nuking. That's the weed. What's the coke?
Yeah. Well, I think you're right. I think that if you found this out, you unmask Gopher Black, you unmask Burisma, Remember, I've been chasing these bioweapons Blackberries for 6 years now, and I found them. So, I mean, and I had an early whistleblower who told me that I was on the right track on the dark weapons with the Biden Blackberry. So I've been chasing this for 5 or 6 years. Okay. So I'm like, okay, I've been waiting for the bird Yansk to show up. Mariupol didn't have it. I watched the siege of Mariupol. I saw Putin. They sent 3 or 4 autonomous vehicles down this little alley road called Victory in Kiev toward the presidential palace. And the Ukrainian Nazi nationals just opened up on it and just turned it into, like dust, right? Because they wanted to find, they're watching from space and they wanted to see where the Ukrainian nationals were. But they weren't going to go any further. We had all the data on Google Maps where the Russian Spetsnaz guys were. They had created a cordon and they wanted to show those guys that this is where you're going to get killed. All right. So you Ukrainian nationals have to ball up inside and huddle, and you're pinned down now in these different things. Meanwhile, they're going out and making, like you said, the Ukrainian women with high cheekbones slinging AK-47s, and they're making videos where 1,000 people with Molotov cocktails are knocking out of.
That's what I mean. Is there's too many. I mean, it feels like a Reddit thread. It feels like a feel-good Reddit thread of a bunch of beta males like writing a story on how war would, take these sunflower seeds and put them in your pocket so that flowers may grow when you die. That's some like cheap self-published like war novel stuff. That doesn't happen. Every once in a while, you get a good line.
Do you know my sunflower story?
What?
Do you know my sunflower story? I got to tell you why I think they did that. Because I had done reports about Kolomoisky, and he had owned all these sunflower seed factories, and he had sunflower oil, and he would give out little bottles of sunflower oil to his most trusted advisors that were involved in the bioweapons. Okay, and the sunflower plants were not the the big plants, but the processing plants were actually bioweapons facilities for amplifying bioweapons, right? So this goes back, I don't know how long ago I did the sunflower seed with Kolomoisky, but he actually had little vials of the sunflower seed oil that they did make in his safe in Geneva. And he was giving out these things to different people that he knew after he did a business deal. After he would buy a building or something, he owns Public Square. He owns like 8 or 9 different buildings in Cleveland. He would give out a little piece of this thing. And that was like, this is the profits from, a takedown that we did because we used bioweapons to overthrow a country. Yeah. So the fact that she says, I'm going to put sunflower seeds in your pocket. Now, if you Google Kolomoisky and sunflower seeds, you know what you get? You don't get George Webb telling the story about how he gave the bioweapons profits as a little token of his deal. You get her. That's jumped to the top now. And the sunflower story with Kolomoisky is buried now.
But it does all just kind of... I don't know.
Can you see why you would want to do that?
Yeah, no, sure, no, I get it. Yeah,
Kolomoisky doesn't want people looking at his sunflower plants. So we're now going to make sunflowers mean something else and direct it in an opposite direction. We're going to create a Burisma.
Yeah, I mean, maybe...
Burisma means shadow, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe I'm just jaded and I'm slowly losing my mind. Maybe Ukrainian people really are bravely standing up and fighting. And maybe this truly is like, yeah, it sounds cheesy, but it's such a moment of humanity that it's real. Maybe. I might be completely wrong. I probably am. I often am. But again, it's just...
Well, I think what's happening is people understand Putin is not coming into the city. He's not going to create the bloodbath in Kiev. So now people are saying, I'm going to fight. Because now I'm going to get a date with a very good-looking woman with high cheekbones carrying an AK-47, right?
Yeah, and it's...
But before that, you didn't know that. You thought you might be dead that night if Putin was coming all the way to the presidential palace, and that's not what's happening.
It's just the Ghost of Kyiv. Like, I love Ace Combat games. Like, but it's like the Ghost of Kyiv. Like it. Russian warship, fuck off. I don't need a ride. I need ammunition. All the photo ops of who knows? Maybe if you bring me back 80 years and showed me World War II, I might be going, oh, this is all, and it's like, no, it's because was it the Nimitz quote? Uncommon valor was a common trait, and it really was just a bunch of guys stepping up and truly being war heroes, like becoming gods, right? Storming the beat. Who knows? Maybe I'm just terribly jaded. But for me, what it's really based on is the last 2 years of just seeing with my own eyes being lied to. I mean, we always know the media lies, but the last 2 years, their attempts to shut down Rogan, to silence Malone and Yeadon and McCullough, nothing has shredded so it's not even necessarily that I have like an opinion on Ukraine, Russia, so much it's just that anything that was that's in the news cycle right now, anything, whether it's Ukraine, Russia, or China, Taiwan, or whatever, it just by default I don't trust it. So when I see it all being served up in this stand with Ukraine, we must act now, this is America's duty, this is why, I'm like, dude, and you can't reject it, right? Because everyone's like, oh, you Nazi. And like, no, it's teed up perfectly. And if you take any opposing stance, it looks like you're defending Russia, which I'm not. What's happening is horrible. But personally, I mean, if Russia attacked Miami tomorrow, I would be inclined to not believe what the media was saying. That's the point I'm trying to get. Is like, it's not.
Tommy, I got news for you.
Yeah.
They've already attacked Fort Lauderdale, and the Ukrainians already own Fort Lauderdale. You can't buy milk here without having a Ukrainian bump you, and get in line, whatever.
But
you
get what I
get what you're saying, but realize too that the global leaders that control the world are also the cabal that controls the bioweapons. You go after the bioweapons, you get the cabal, right?
What's Klaus Schwab saying about all this?
Well, I was going to go down the list because somebody asked me to do the most wanted list.
What's old?
Kissinger is number 1, Klaus Schwab is number 2, Kolomoisky is number 3, right? And then you got people like Michael Callahan and so forth, the underlings.
Where am I?
But you get those guys. You get the bioweapons, Cofer Black. You get those guys, and you get the cabal. And that's a beautiful thing, right? The bioweapons are the most secret. I went after the uranium because that was pretty darn secret. That's QQ. But bioweapons is QQQ, right? It's the third level, and it's the Kissinger level. But it's going to tell you how the world actually works. It's a rare look into the center of the universe on this, right? And it gets smaller and smaller, and that makes it easier and easier to solve the puzzle. That's the beautiful thing about this. So just like hang in there, but it's like here it comes. Cofer Black they're gonna unload NATO and start doing flybys and declaring a no-fly zone in Ukraine because of Berdyansk.
Yeah.
That's triggering a World War III type event where you got MiGs and Su-35s going at F-35s. Right?
At least.
And Putin just did the GROM exercises, the GROM, not the Gronk exercises. Everybody thinks it's the Gronk. You did the Gronk exercises. You gronked yourself.
I did it today. That's why my back is gronked up.
I'm talking about the GROM exercises, which is the nuclear hypersonic exercises. He did those to remind everybody, I got 5 times speed of sound, and maybe your anti-aircraft works, maybe it doesn't. But once I press the button, I know it's game over for me, but it may be game over for you. I'm tired of the damn bioweapons. I'm tired of Kissinger doing this kind of genocide. I'm tired of Cofer Black being in his little errand boy for this stuff. I know where it is. I know it's Berdyansk. Game freaking over. Okay, I'm willing to lay. I saw in his eye. He had that steely determination that I saw in Kennedy's eye. And we're not backing down on this. We're going to go to Berdyansk. And I will say this, there was a golfer named Bert Yancey. You don't remember him, but he had a sweet, smooth swing. So when you think of Berdyansk, you might want to think of the great golfer, Berd Yansky.
it's
Burt Lance. Wait, but it was Burt Lance. He was in Iran-Contra.
it's all Bert, Ernie. Nothing matters. Nothing.
Bert and Ernie and Bert and Yance. That's the new show. That's the new show, Cagney and Lacey, and then stay tuned after that for Bert and Yance.
But I mean, I guess nothing makes sense to me anymore. And maybe I've just been effectively demoralized and disillusioned. But like, it's like people saying this would have never happened under Trump. This would have never happened under Trump. Trump had balls. We were also attacked by a bioweapon under Trump and lost 2 times as many Americans as we did in World War II.
My point exactly. You can't roll up the network. You can't roll up the bioweapons network and the communications network while you're operating a bio exercise, while you're in the middle of an exercise. After it's all over, right, you can roll it up, right? You can roll up all the communications devices and servers. Now, there is another point here. Berd Yansk, B-E-R-D, Bird, B-E-R-D, not B-I-R-D like Larry Bird, but B-E-R-D, Yansk, Y-A-N-S-K, right? It could be that Putin's helping to mop this up. Oh, isn't this a convenient Russian invasion? And Klaus Schwab says that Putin works for him, and he's going to just do cleanup on aisle 6 on Berd Yansk. That could be another thing that's going on here.
Maybe, so maybe the whole thing is just an inside move.
It's just all the school play. We're all
we're all the idiots
choosing sides, and they're going to dossier us on both sides, and we're all going to.
But the reality this is just a clean. Yeah, this is just a cleanup. Yeah, it's like.
But I don't. The only thing is when I hear the nuclear sabers rattle,
because nobody wins. Serious. Nobody wins with nuclear.
Nobody wins, right? And
the
that's
cabal
when you
doesn't want it. Yeah, nobody wants it. You, the military-industrial complex. You love building nukes. They all know that is the greatest of resets, is a full thermonuclear exchange. Nobody gets, your trillions don't matter, your waterfront property doesn't matter, your Rolls Royce, your Epstein Island, there is no fame and fortune when the world is covered in cobalt and strontium-90 and radioactive calcium. Like, so I'm with you. Something's off when they're going full nuclear saber rattling. Or maybe they just truly need to scare the world into whatever the next step in the plan is. George, you there?
Sorry, yeah, I'm here. The guys are showing Berd Yansk on the screen here, and I'll just show you a little video from Berd Yansk. I don't want to be that guy showing videos on a cell phone when I should be. Well, you know what? Let me send it to our command center in Temperance here, and I'll let him show the tanks rolling in on Berd Yansk. And I'm just saying, look at the size of these missiles, and it's
the Topol missiles.
Well, they're on Kamaz tractors, so I want to believe that they're
TOPOL, the ones with 30 wheels.
No, these are the smaller ones. They're not Club K size. The Club K are the calibers.
Yeah.
Although a Club K can be 20 feet or 40 feet. So I don't know. Maybe there'll be a missile expert. But I'll just show you. There they go.
Okay.
You tell me what that is as they go by. But
I'm waiting for the next one.
Let me hear.
Is it paused? George and I are so laughably bad with technology.
Yeah. Well, there's Berd Yansk, and the guy is so afraid that he's not going outside his house. And we'll have that in another second. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Let's try it again. It's not one of those things where it matters too much. Okay, let me. Here's two. Okay, here we go.
Got it. Okay.
Is it?
Okay. Yeah. It's okay. Those aren't quite the. Yeah. No, I see them. Still big boys, but they don't. They're not the. Yeah, I got it. It's not the Topol, the TOPOL, the Topol launchers, the ones that the mobile ICBM launchers that are like 100 feet long. Not those ones, but
no. And I don't know if that's Club K, the caliber, or not. I've never seen a I've seen a computer representation of a caliber
Yeah.
hypersonic stage, second stage.
Those ones look exactly like
they're thin, like torpedoes.
Yeah, they look exactly like when China was testing their Dongfeng hypersonic missile last year. Those vehicles looked exactly the same, about the same size.
Yeah, the Sidewinder type. French had a Sidewinder. We have a cruise missile. We have the Tomahawk. They had the what did the Chinese have?
Dongfeng.
And that guy trained with Jack Parsons at the JPL. See, this is the thing, is we give the stuff, the most advanced technology, to both sides. This Ukraine group
you gotta keep the fight going, George. How else are you gonna print the money like that? Come on now.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying is, if I know how to create a hemorrhagic fever, and I know how, and I can combine that with a coronavirus spike or some other spike to make it airborne, I could start parlaying that around, right, to different sides. And now only I know how to stop the hemorrhagic fever, which is a synthesia, which could be using mRNA that silences certain proteins. I think it's going to be RDRP for everybody who wants to stop the madness. You can say, just look up RDRP and that'll stop everything. But I think that doing an analysis of all the people that are in the hemorrhagic fever business, they're all in silencing. As a matter of fact, Bob Malone has a company called Silencing RNA, if you want to look into his background. But so it is going to be the answer to the test. It is going to be the antidote, right? It is going to be the universal vaccine that gets them all off the hook. The question is, are we going to be a part of that group or not? That's the key question.
Are we rapidly approaching? Is this not all choreographed? Are we just rapidly approaching the end of human civilization? Like, is that maybe this isn't choreographed? Maybe the people at the top are just as scared as us. Are we colliding? Are nations colliding? Is it the wake of the pandemic? Nothing makes sense. Putin's getting older. China rising. The U.S. going insane with hyperinflation. The COVID narrative breaking down. Supply lines are broken. Are we just rapidly? Is this a global system in decay? And there's starting to be sparks. Is this the powder keg of Europe of 1914?
I won't be able to answer that question until I get the latest information from Berdyansk, but I could probably tell you in about 5 minutes after I get the Berdyansk updates. But I do think the answer is going to be around some bioweapons program that's already been tested, that only Alpha Group has the vaccine for. Now, how is that going to be deployed? Is that going to be deployed by giving Russians the one that the U.S. doesn't have the vaccine for, and the U.S. the vaccine the Russians don't have, and then encouraging a global war, which they have the vaccine for both, the universal vaccine, this little Alpha Group? I don't know, but that's how I would do it if I was Kolomoisky. That's how I would do it if I was Clover Black. That's how I would do it if I was Kissinger. I would give each side an unassailable weapon to eliminate the other side, and then I would try to get them to enter a global war with each other. That's what I think they did with the military live exercise in Wuhan with the military games. NATO tried to do that then, and I think NATO's going to do that again now. The only thing that Trump didn't take the bait, right? He didn't go right to the nuclear option. He went to the vaccine option. I think they thought he was going to go to the nuclear option. But now you're seeing NATO just go straight to the nuclear option. And again, it's a perfect premise for using bioweapons. How do you get Putin out of Ukraine? Do you send nukes in a nuclear exchange, or do you fire bioweapons? I think you fire bioweapons. Clover Black is itching to fire bioweapons.
It seems like the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, because it leaves the buildings, and if you vaccinate,
not only that. Sorry, it's not. Forget the buildings. You start firing nukes, that's the end of the world. It will escalate so quickly. It's 30 minutes across the planet to fire a missile. We used to say back in graduate school, my limited time in graduate school, one nuclear missile ruins your whole day. Yeah, and it's true. An atomic bomb can really mess up your day.
Yeah, so I would much rather be hit with a Club K round from the Blackstone Express,
full of with
Mr. Shamanoff. I'd rather. Here we go. Here's your Berdyansk.
Brutyansk. Hello.
My favorite golfer, Bertyansk.
My favorite golfer, Brutyansk. This is hello, COVID. George, I'm upset you haven't commented on my name yet.
Tommy Carrigan?
No, what I put in my little label.
Oh, Tommy Putin. So you put Kissinger in there.
Tommy or Putin. Tommy or Putin.
Tommy or Putin. Okay. Everyone was asking. Tommy or Putin. Yeah, everyone was asking, is this Kissinger's kid? Because Kissinger does have a kid.
Well, Kissinger's like 99. He's got to have multiple generations.
Well, he has several out of wedlock, is what I've been told.
I'm sure they're all.
But he also has a grandson that works in New York.
Oh, so people were actually. Oh, no. I am not related to not to my knowledge. I am not related to Henry Kissinger.
Yeah, people thought actually. A couple of people thought you were Kissinger.
If you're not connections of the Kissinger family, I wouldn't be doing a podcast from my own bedroom in Maryland. I'd be at Davos setting myself up with strip mining rights or something.
Or some kind of stripping.
Or something. I'd just be doing the same demonic, just tearing through the third world, dumping money into my own offshore bank account. Wouldn't be doing a podcast.
But you might make an exception if you could make a podcast here on Neighborhood News. I understand what you're saying.
I might.
Yeah, you might make an exception.
But it does seem the use of bioweapons would be, because nuclear weapons, the response time is so small, you have to make the decision so quickly. Everything's planned out. I mean, you can't possibly, it started with Eisenhower. We had all the game plans ready. What did they call? What the hell was the name of PSYOP? Not PSYOP in the sense of psychological operation. But I think it was actually called like SIOP, like PSYOP 16 or something. And those were the levels of escalation you had, because it's such a complex global chessboard of predetermined. If this happens, we're going to fire 4 missiles at this site, 3 at this one, 9 at that one. And it's just, so many things that even in the 50s, only a supercomputer could understand it. But it was all predetermined. If this happens, it's PSYOP 1, PSYOP all the way up to, I think, 16. It's all because it all happens so fast that you have to have basically your moves predetermined. It's like a football coach coordinator or something. You can't come up with a new play. No, you see them do something and you move to the play that you've practiced. You just have to execute. So if a tactical nuke flies into Kyiv and detonates, no one's going to be sitting around going, okay, well, that happened, but maybe this stuff has been automated for decades. The elite go to the bunkers, everything goes. It's all pre-planned, and not in some conspiracy sense. It's just that's how the strategic nuclear command works.
Speaking of that, if you had the Russian Federation working on plans leaving Beryansk, or you can see it's on a promontory there at the end of a peninsula, much like Crimea, much like not Sverdlovsk, but Sevastopol. So if you had 50 years of planning for biological weapons for spraying from sea craft, and then you took over one day, you changed the nameplate out of your thing from Spetsnaz, and you changed it into Alpha, would you not go back to that whole filing cabinet full of operational plans and just go in there with a stamp and go, Alpha, 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 just hit the Spetsnaz with the Alpha stamp, right? That's why we're seeing the old Spetsnaz stuff. That's why all this stuff is so predictable. That's why shutting down the Kerch Strait is so predictable, because the Russian Navy had thought of this 75 years ago. Shutting down the Bosporus. The Bosporus has been there thousands of years. Yeah, okay, yeah, that one too. Dardanelles, yeah, we got that one. Over and over again, these things, and that's why Putin knows about all this stuff. Again, we produce documents, okay, with UP8, I think there's UP1, Ukraine Program 1, Ukraine Program 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These are generational developments of different biological agents. They were Congo Crimea hemorrhagic fever was UP8. And I think there's going to be other programs. And again, you have all the jewels. If you inherited all these operational plans, you can give some to the Russians, you can give some to the Americans, you can have them wipe each other out, and you could be the one sitting there with the universal vaccine. We've been talking about this universal vaccine for 6 years. Okay, this mRNA silencing with Sina Bavari, we've been talking about for 3 years, the better part of 3 years. There's a letter there that I put out about UP8, and it's this guy Lance Lippincott, but it's from to the Defense Ministry of Ukraine. And if you scroll through some of the other documents, you'll see that we are trying to look at who.
What's the date on that document?
I think it's 2018.
Oh, okay, now I see it.
Yeah. So if you flip left or flip right, swipe left or swipe right, or just scroll up or down in my Twitter, you're going to see these documents where they're coming from Moscow, a whistleblower in Moscow. We don't know if they're true or not. Just click on any image and you'll get the blown up image. Here's Sverdlovsk, Berdyansk. You can see, just click on any of the images in there and you'll get a blow up image. There you go. So you can see relatively where it is. But these are old, like Tommy, you're saying, these are old plans that they just keep wargaming. You know, the new job when they get the Tommy Carrigan young guy in is to take the old George Webb plans that were written 50 years ago and put it in a computer. Mm-hmm. Right? So that we can simulate it 1,000 times.
You see which is the most, yeah.
Versus 5 times, which we used to do with our tabletop board game, right? So now we can do it, you know, maybe add little dials.
Variables here, little thing there.
Yeah.
So even just
but that's what you're getting. That's what you're getting here. And that's why I think Putin understands what's happening.
It just said U.S. is opposing ceasefire talks.
Well, that's news to me.
That's what that just said. It said Cernovich retweeted. That was the last thing I saw before you closed out, or whoever closed out.
Well, how does that make any sense?
Yeah,
unless
I don't know. Can you have him pull up the page we were just looking at?
Yeah,
It said Cernovich retweeted. So I guess, I don't know, go to Cernovich's.
I saw Andy just tweeted out a picture of the part of Ukraine that's being occupied.
There you go. U.S. State Department and UK opposing cease. Oh, does that mean they have differing? Opposed ceasefire talks. That's not good.
They oppose ceasefire talks?
Opposed ceasefire talks when asked about efforts between Ukraine and Russian negotiations. Don't oppose ceasefire. Why oppose ceasefire?
Well, that tells me the operation isn't over yet. Whatever the operation is, the Chechens are brutal. How the Chechens got to be the lead people in Berdyansk, I don't know, but I think they're going to kill everybody who was a part of the old program. I don't know if that was the deal with Putin, the devil's deal, to go in and kill everybody who was a part of the bioweapons program, but it seems like it is. I think you're going to have a massive, I can't remember what the Madeleine Albright, there it is, there's the map of currently held territory. The Madeleine Albright was responsible for the huge massacre in Srebrenica in Croatia, or maybe that was Kosovo. But Srebrenica, maybe that was Bosnia. But I can't remember now. But I just think you're going to see a mass graves in Berdyansk. The other thing is Chechnya has typically opposed Russia. So sending in the Chechens, maybe that's cleanup on aisle 7. Hope they can get there first before Russia does get there. You know, I think this is like sort of cleaning up on Auschwitz.
Dude, what we need right now are some cruise missiles full of aerosolized MDMA and psilocybin. Everybody needs to be hugging. Let's not stumble into nuclear war. You know, was it the Guns of August? What was that book written about World War I that Kennedy loved? And he referenced it a lot during the Cuban Missile Crisis. Mm-hmm. How after World War I, there are 2 opposing generals. They're just talking. It's like 1920 or something. And they go, how did it all start? How did it all happen? And he looks at it and he goes, if only we knew. Because they described it as like stumbling in the dark off of a cliff. and once it started, it couldn't be undone. And I think he said to like LeMay or something, he was like, I don't want in 60 years for people to be living in a post-apocalyptic nuclear world. I'm obviously paraphrasing. And them to look back at 1962 and say, how did it happen? And to say, if only one knew. It's what this feels like. How did this happen? Well, Russia just invaded Ukraine one day, and I don't know, we were doing a podcast, and it just escalated, and China moved on Taiwan, and Tibet revolted, and how did it happen? If only one knew.
Well, I've read Barbara Tuchman's book, Guns of August.
I think
right?
that's it.
Several times,
Okay.
and
I never have.
yeah, and there's a perception when a tremendous amount of pressure is being put on a diplomat, and he has to make a decision within a certain time frame, like you're saying, SIOP 16, and it says do this in case of that, and you give them no time, and they have to react. For instance, in the World War I, it was the mobilization schedule. There was a big thing about the mobilization of trains, that if you didn't make this decision from the time you found out that so-and-so was mobilizing, you had time for exactly a half a brandy and a cigar before you made the telegram to the railway station to mobilize your arms.
To start it. Yeah. It was on such a razor thin margin.
Yeah, you had 3 puffs of the cigar, and you could shake the brandy snifter twice, and then you could have 1 sip of the snifter to build your courage, and then you would have this thing tapped out.
PSYOP 62, not 16.
Okay, PSYOP 62, right. And maybe we go for, if you do an image search on PSYOP 62, SIOP 62, that may be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah,
to me, that's very contrived. It's Dick Cheney did this with the rules of engagement for continuity of government. He created all these rules. This had to happen. That had to happen. This had to happen. Basically, Cheney has his finger on the button for all the, keep it going or stop it all along the way, all the checkpoints. But if you look at how that was orchestrated, all those interlocking agreements and treaties, each one of those was put together with the backing of a lot of financial interests that had interest in loaning the maximum amount of money to the war machines of those countries. And they had everything to gain by all those countries going to war and draining their national treasuries back to the banking interests. So I'm just saying that if you look at each one of those unbreakable treaties in World War I that caused the tripwire that you're saying, the domino effect, all of them were banking interests. You had the Russia pact with England, and you had the England pact with France, and you had the Austria-Hungary pact with Germany, and et cetera. The real reason, right, I believe, that they made the decision to start that chain reaction was the Baghdad to Berlin railway, which was going to bring cheap oil to Berlin and mechanize the war machine. And at the same time, Churchill was switching over from coal to oil, and everyone saw the scramble. We now have to go for the Middle East oil, or otherwise we're all going to be speaking German, probably. And for Americans, we'd all have to speak English, which would be kind of a stretch from American. But that's what caused World War I. That's why it had to happen then. So that's why that tripwire was fired. How does, just a guy who's 18 years old, Principe, how does Principe get that close to Archduke Ferdinand? And then he screws up. And so the chauffeur is literally driving him around the block until he can get a message to where's the next place we should go. And then Principe is waiting further down the street, right? And then the driver puts him by, and Ferdinand's yelling at the driver, "What are you doing? Why are we going in circles?" So the Principe gets a second chance to kill. That was planned. That was a whole series of events that was planned by the people who had the most to gain. And again, if you control the recipe in this new wrote a book about this exact thing. It's called World War DARPA, over using these secrets and giving one to one side and one to the other, and keeping the magical third formula to yourself, that it's the recipe of untold riches for yourself, not for the two big participants. NATO is that third party that wants to see this war. So anyway, long monologue, but here it is. You said it, Tommy. Here's SIOP 62.
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane.
And you would war game that, make it fast.
Oh, dude, but even like the smallest ones was like 100 million people dead in an hour.
Single integrated operational plan. SIOP, single integrated operational plan. So, Tommy, why don't we do this? Why don't we leave it right here? You're obviously suffering tremendously from your Grom exercises, your Gronk exercises. Yeah.
It's a dull pain. I'm more kind of just terrified of like, should I be doing like podcasts, or should I just be getting shit-faced and enjoying the end of the world?
I think your podcast is going to vault you into the heralded sages, especially for your generation. Oh my goodness! No, if you expose, this is why the whole thing is based on this, Tommy. Right? Is if you go with the wizard thing and that movie where they go up and see the wizard, the Wizard of Oz, and you pull back the curtain, even Toto, right? And everybody can see that wait a minute, it's Gopher Black. He's firing the missiles with the little hand buttons. Well, let's just take the machine away from Gopher Black, and then the war's over, right? That's what I want to do. I want to be the guy who takes the machine away from Gopher Black.
What do you think Dick Cheney's doing right now? Do you think he's got his hand, or do you think he and Kissinger are just too old? Do you think they're just not involved anymore? Are they the boogeymen of yesteryear?
Well, I hope they're not duck hunting. for whoever's with Dick Cheney, take cover. Take cover. You're in danger.
Yeah.
But normally this year, about this time of year, he duck hunts in Louisiana. And this is because he's meeting with his folks that have very large oil interests in Texas and Louisiana. So usually he's duck hunting about this time. And Kissinger is not out there with him. Kissinger usually is at Punta Cana, the Wolf's Tooth, right? Is it Punta Cana, the Wolf Point in Dominican Republic about this time of year?
Yeah, I guess the only hope I have is that nobody wants nuclear war. Nobody can make a pretty penny off of it. It's the end of the system. You don't want to flip the board. You want to rig the board. You want to cheat the board. You want to become the deep state of the board. But you don't want to flip the board, because then the game's over and it's all for naught. That's kind of like it's like mutual assured destruction of bank accounts. Like, that's kind of the only thing holding us together right now. God, if Elon hasn't been more right than ever before, like, dude, we got to get off this planet.
Tommy, as we speak, this shows your value. We have the NATO apologists for bioweapons actually in the chat saying that NATO bioweapons cabal is going to shut you down. The NATO bioweapons cabal is going to shut you down. Well, maybe the NATO bioweapons cabal does shut us down. But until they do, Tommy, it's you and me here every Sunday to do podcasts and inform the world about the dark hand. Tommy, you want to do this again next Sunday?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we make a lot of progress here.
So do I.
And again, you won't be gronked.
I hope not.
Gronky.
I won't be grunty. Yeah, this will be gone, I think, probably by tomorrow. But I'm also getting older. It doesn't go away as quickly anymore.
All right. Well, every time you gronk, we'll think about Putin gromming. That's nuclear hypersonic missile exercises right before his invasion to remind the world, hey, we're going for Baird Yansk.
If the elites of this world nuke this whole place, I'm gonna be so mad. I've put so much time into this podcast, and I haven't got to see it blow up yet. I mean, I know the whole loss of billions of lives are bad, and the irreversible eradication of the biosphere is definitely not something that we want. But man, if these fuckers mess up this thing that I've put so much work into, I'll hunt them down into their nuclear bunkers themselves, and I'll kill them. I'll make sure no one's left. I will ridden with radiation poisoning. I will pry myself into NORAD and choke them out myself. I'll look past the deaths. I've put a lot of work into this podcast, and I wanted to see it make me some coin, and maybe get some recognition. I'll go to war. I'll go to war with them.
Well, you're ready to be a Duisburg scholar, just like Muhammad Atta now. So Bayer would be proud. Okay, well, Tyrone, that's going to wrap us up with that cheery thought of Tommy the Gronk Carrigan.
I will dig with bare hands into your nuclear bunkers and find you if you guys ruin this thing. I've put a lot of work into this.
You heard it, Cover Black, and all of the NATO bioweapons trolls, you've heard it as well. Give Tommy a day or two of his day in the sunshine, where he's slathering Kolomoisky's sunflower seed oil on himself in a hot sun in Ukraine. And then you can destroy the world.
Then you give me like a year of my podcast getting its dues, and then you can erase humanity. That's fine. But if you do it beforehand, I'll kill you myself with my own hands. I'll kill you my fucking self, dude.
There you have it from Gronk headquarters, not Grom headquarters, Gronk headquarters, the great Tommy Carrigan. Go ahead, play us out, Tyrone, and we'll have Tyrone on. We're talking about a new show called Tyrone at 12. Tyrone at 12. The big question is it going to be at noon or at midnight? Tyrone at 12. Here we go.
All right.
So you got to hit that go away button, and while we're waiting for that, we'll read a few of the NATO bioweapons apologists' comments, and then we're going to rebroadcast this broadcast if you missed it tomorrow. Oh, it just ended.
Nope.
Well, we don't have to worry about that anymore.
All right, man. George.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I'll see you, buddy.
Get better. Okay.
Thank you so much.